Most organizations assume that they'll know the moment a cyber attack happens, a flashing red light, a dramatic system failure, or something obvious. But modern attackers don't work like that anymore. Today, attacks are slow, they are patient, and they are deliberately quiet. According to industry research, an attacker spends over 240 days inside an organization's environment before detection. That's 8 months. 8 months of total access, of watching your users, of learning your systems, and waiting for the perfect moment to act. And the reason they can stay hidden for so long is simple. Most organizations lack the visibility needed to spot early warning signs. Tools are deployed, but they're not joined up. Logs exist, but they're not correlated. Configuration gaps create blind spots, and attackers know exactly how to use those blind spots to move undetected. And so today we are looking at the top 3 warning signs that your systems might already be compromised. Subtle indicators that often go unnoticed for months and yet reveal that someone else might already be inside your network. So the first example is where unexplained systems or network behavior. One of the earliest indicators of compromise is activity that simply does not make sense. Slow systems, unexplained bandwidth spikes, unfamiliar login patterns, remote access attempts at unusual hours. All of these can be dismissed as everyday IT noise, but in reality, they often represent the attacker's reconnaissance phase. During this phase, attackers are mapping your environment, identifying misconfigurations, testing lateral movement routes, and quietly harvesting credentials. None of this triggers a dramatic alert because it blends into the background, because most organizations only see surface level views of what's happening across their network. In more than 200 ransomware incidents that we've recovered, these early signs were present long before the attack detonated. They were visible, but only if you knew where to look. Unexplained behavior is rarely random. It is often the earliest signal that someone is learning how your environment works from the inside. The second warning sign isn't about too many alerts, it's about fragmented alerts. Most organizations believe that they have monitoring because they receive notifications from isolated tools, a firewall here, an endpoint there, a cloud dashboard, maybe elsewhere. But this creates a patchwork of visibility rather than a clear picture. Attackers exploit this fragmentation. They operate in the gaps between systems, the areas with no logging, no correlation, or no cross-platform visibility. So you may see the occasional isolated alert, but never enough to join the dots. Nothing looks urgent, nothing looks connected, and the attacker continues just to move freely. The bigger risk is where the alerts suddenly stop. Not because the organization is safe, but because the attacker has maybe advanced far enough to disable the logging, modify configurations, or to suppress telemetry entirely. Silence is not the absence of a threat, it's often the result of an attacker removing the visibility that you did have. This is why dwell time averages more than 8 months. See, attackers aren't outsmarting your tools, they're simply hiding in places where you're not watching. The final warning sign is subtle but critical. Small, unexplained changes in your environment. These might include new admin accounts that you don't recognize, MFA being disabled temporarily, new scheduled tasks appearing, or firewall rules being added that nobody really remembers implementing. These aren't accidents. These are footprints of persistence. Once an attacker gains the initial foothold, they begin shaping your environment to make sure that they can return. They can escalate access or launch their attack at a time of their choosing. What makes this so dangerous is that many organizations have no central configuration monitoring or enforcement. Small changes go unnoticed. No one sees a pattern. But during recovery work, these subtle modifications tell the whole story. The attacker was preparing the environment long before the visible attack began. Unauthorized changes are never harmless. They are often the final clue that someone has already established control inside your network.